Hi, Eric. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Roberto. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Hi, everyone, for the Twitch stream. Today, with me, Rick, we are going to talk about Laravel and Storyblok. So I'm super excited because I love Laravel and I love Storyblok. And today I have the opportunity to talk about the two tools that I love, right? So, yes. I'm Roberto from Storyblok. I am DevRel, Developer Relations Engineer from Storyblok. I cover the Laravel integration, PHP integration, and so on. And what about you, Rick?
Yeah, I'm Rick. I am a Storyblok Ambassador, and I've made a package for Storyblok and Laravel probably a couple of years ago, and it's been continually developed since then. And I work for my own agency called You and Us, where Storyblok's a brilliant fit for us in terms of that balance for kind of very design-heavy projects for clients where they just love being able to use the admin. And for me as a developer, using Laravel, it's a lovely fit.
Yeah, because at the end, as a developer, you can focus on the relevant part for you, so the front end, the building the application, and allow the content editor to use a tool like Storyblok for managing the content. And what we are going to do is today is build a front-end website with Laravel. We are going to integrate the Storyblok content delivery API. So we are mainly focused on integrating with the APIs. We will use HTTP client for starting. So instead of using a package, we are going to use under the hood the HTTP client provided by Laravel. And just to understand the logic and the option that we have with the content delivery API. In the second part covered by Rick, we are going to use the package, the Laravel Storyblok package developed by the community, mainly by Rick. And we can see some magics with it, right? So
that's right. Yeah.
So, but I'm going to start to share my screen. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yes. Mainly, I'm going to use the editor to show the code. I'm going to use also the terminal for launching some command. I have already prepared a repository that I'm going to copy and paste directly in to the chat here on Twitch, just to allow you to check the repository while we are going to explore all the stuff, right? And we can follow essentially this step. So at the end, if you want to start to play with Laravel, it's quite easy. The requirements are that you need a PHP environment on your local laptop, and you need Composer. Through Composer, you can start installing from scratch a new Laravel application. And for the people that come from Next and Next, or in general from other ecosystem, it is very easy. Let me show you. Let me demonstrate this a little bit. So you can use Composer, create project, then you can use the Laravel package, and then you can provide the name of the directory, right? So, and then you can start creating your project, and you can see all the packages needed by Laravel are downloaded, and then you can jump directly in your directory and start using your Laravel project. Let me show a little bit quickly. So in this case, you can jump in my test.test, and then as you can see here, not my test, not test. My test.test. As you can see here, there is your application that we created now with Laravel latest version with PHP 8.3. PHP 8.3 was released the last week, so we are using the latest PHP version. This is for the installation of Laravel, but let me walk through all the steps for creating a real Laravel project. So at the end, what we want to do is, for example, create this is the Storyblok interface, the Storyblok UI, where you can create, where the content editor can create the content, can create the pages, the folders, and so on. As you can see here, for example, we already create a couple of pages. We have the home pages, and the most important part for now is understanding the structure of the pages. In this case, in the home page, we have a hero, so a component. Then we have popular article components, and then we have a grid. As you can see here, this is the front end from build with Laravel. We already prepared and created a couple of components. In this case, the hero component, the popular article component, and then as you can see here, we have the default component. So in this case, we need to build the grid component from the Laravel perspective. But for now, just to allow you to understand that we want to create a Laravel application for that. So let me start from the routing mechanism, right? So to do that, we can jump, for example, because in Laravel, we have the web PHP file where we can define all the routing rules, and then for this project, we have a catch-all route, right? So it means that all the calls are catched by this kind of route. So at the end, the Storyblok controller is called, and this is the method that we are going to implement. So the load method into the Storyblok controller, and we will receive in the request the catch-all. So the catch-all is the path that we have, for example, /home, /page, article, /article1, and so on, right? So we are going to retrieve all the information through the request. Before to jump into the controller, let me mention a little bit about the configuration, because we need a couple of parameters for the configuration. So let me show you, for example, .env.example. We are going to use a token preview, a token public, an access token, a version, and then we have a couple of parameters to controlling the time to live for the caching. But just to start simple, we can focus only on the access token and the version, right? So in this case, this is the .env.example. You can copy into .env, and then you can customize this kind of parameter. In Laravel, just to let you know, we have a config /Storyblok PHP file where we are loading all these kind of parameters. So we are making available for our application. So now let me jump into the controller. So in the Storyblok component, the controller that we already mentioned, because it is called by the routing mechanism. And in this case, we have, as you can see here, the load function, right? So the URL structure is defined in this way. So the first part, not mandatory, define the languages, and then we have the path. So it means that we need to extract the first part, and the first part determine the language, right? So we are going to use an array for tracking all the available languages. For example, ES for Spanish, IT for Italian, and so on. If the first part is not included in this kind of array of available languages, we are going to assume that the language is the default. So in our case, the empty string. So this is the goal of getLang/slag. That is the, let me say, the function that determines the lang and the path. This is very important for Storyblok, because when we are going to call, for example, the APIs, we need to send to the APIs of Storyblok the path and then the lang, right? The lang to determine the language and the path to determine the stories, the content that we need to retrieve, right? Now we can skip the part about the caching, just to allow you to understand that if you are not quite happy about the performance, you can play with the caching. You can play on multiple levels of the caching. You can cache on the API side. So you can cache, for example, some values come from Storyblok, or you can cache the response. So it's up to you. But at the end, the most important part is that you are using the caching mechanism provided by Laravel, right? So it is quite nice because we are not introducing any kind of weird stuff about that. We are going to use the standard functions, classes provided by Laravel. The only thing that we are going to do now is to implement the story method, the story model with the load method. Let me jump into that. And as you can see here, we are going to implement the load method just because we want to reuse this kind of logic across multiple controllers. Or, for example, if you want to create your command line tool, you can reuse this kind of function if you need to retrieve one stories. As you can see here, we are going to use the HTTP class provided by Laravel. So in this case, we are using with URL parameters. We are setting the base URL, the endpoint, and the slug. And the slug, as you can see here, we are going to use the identifier. Then we can append some query parameters. As you can see here, we are going to use the token, the version, the CV, the resolve relation. So some not mandatory option query when we are calling the APIs, right? The only mandatory one is the token. As you can see here, we are going to load the configuration from the .env file, right? So in this case, we are going to perform a get. So now we are using the HTTP client for performing a get. And then we can return our response. In this case, in this example, we are tracking the time used by for performing the request, and then we are going to return this value. This is the model. So we are going to return this value to our controller, right? So now here we are in the controller, and then we are using the return value. In this case, as you can see now, all of this stuff is the stuff needed for loading content from the Storyblok API. Now we can jump into the front-end part, right? Into the front-end part, it means that we are going to use the blade. With Laravel, you can use more than one way to build your front-end. You can use the plain blade file, or you can use, for example, Livewire. I love Livewire, for example. You can use, for example, Inertia with React or Vue. But for now, we are going to use the basic blade template because it is easier, right? Rick, do you have some questions till now, or is pretty clear?
I think for me, that's pretty clear. Yeah. Everything you're using there is just standard Laravel, really, as well. At the moment.
Yeah, probably if in our chat someone is already using Laravel, nothing new until now, right? Because we are using the configuration mechanism provided by Laravel, the routing mechanism, the controller, the model, and so on, right? So nothing new for a Laravel developer. Now we can go to the view. As you can see here, the most important part is that now we are going to load the blade view, and we are going to structure our front-end code into the components, right? For example, we see that for this project, we have a hero component, popular article components, Greek components, and so on, right? So this kind of structure reflects the structure that we will have in the blade component file. So we will have an hero blade.php file, we will have a popular articles blade file, and so on, right? So there is a kind of relation between the components that you are going to use in the Storyblok and in the blade file. This, let me say, assumption or convention is useful because you can automatically load the component in a dynamically way, right? Because, for example, in this case, the content editor can add block, all the blocks that they want, right? So on the front-end side, we don't know exactly the structure of the page because depends on the component that they are using, the content editor, right? So in this case, we have a mechanism for loading dynamically the components in the blade files, but let me show you. So in this case, we are going to load the storyblok.blade.php view, and then we are sending a couple of parameters, 3 parameters: catch-all, story, and the language, right? So in this case, in our template blade view file, we can use this kind of value, right? So let me jump in the Storyblok one. So the Storyblok, this is the view. As you can see, it is very easy. We are going to use the layout base file. So my assumption here is that we have a base.blade.php file under the layout directory that is for the layout. Let me show you. So we have base, this one. So this one is the layout of the file. As you can see here, we have the HTML, the head, all the meta, and then we have the slot. The slot, it will be filled with the values come from the template file. So jumping back into the Storyblok one, as you can see here, we are going to use a Storyblok component where we are going to send the name of the component and some other parameters, for example, like the language, right? So here we have a component in Storyblok. So let me show you the Storyblok component here, where we are going essentially, we are going to render the components. As you can see here, we are going to get the name of the component, for example, hero component, popular article components, and with the name, we are going to load the proper components. If the component does not exist, it will be raised an exception, and the full component, it will be loaded, right? So this is a convention that I created for this project, and allow me, for example, to highlight the missing component on the front-end part, right? In this case, as you can see here, we have a couple of logic for setting the editable string. We can skip this kind of concept now because I think for the time, but yeah, we can put all the logic that we need for controlling better the component, what I'm trying to say. And then, so with this kind of logic, we can focus now on the component, and make a component is quite simple because, for example, let me jump into the hero component, hero blade.php component. As you can see here, we can write the standard HTML. And as you can see here, when we need, for example, to access to some properties provided by the component, for example, the headline, as you can see here, we can access to the component array, and then we can use the headline, the subheadline, and so on, right? So, and this field reflects, let me jump back into, for example, if we have an hero, let me open the hero. As you can see here, we have the headline, we have a subheadline, and we have other fields, right? So it means that we are going to render this kind of component through the blade, and when we need some dynamic data, we can load in this way. So as you can see here, nothing new, right? At the end, we are using the blade mechanism for managing different multiple components, right? So in this case, I already prepared the hero component, for example, the header component, another example, and so on. So as you can see here, for example, if a content editor now change a little bit the headline, hello Laravel developer, then we can click save. And then as you can see here, we can see the preview, right? Because at the end, the front end is loaded, all the components are loaded in a dynamically way, thanks to the Storyblok component that we build. And in this way, we can add components. As you can see here, we have the hero, we have the popular article component. And for example, in this case, we don't have the grid, or for example, we don't have, let me jump into the block, into the article one. As you can see here, dynamic component article does not exist because we have an exception, if you remember, when we don't have a specific component in Blade. So it means that we need to build. Let me do it. So for example, in this case, we don't have the article component. And in the default component, as you can see here, I'm going to list all the fields that we can access. For example, the image, the title, the teaser, and so on, right? So, for example, let me write a little bit a new article just to demonstrate about, for example, in the hero, I can go here. So I'm going to jump into the view components where we have all the components. And because now I want to create an article, I can create article Blade component. So let me click article.blade.php. Okay, let me write a quick hello here. Let me switch back to the browser. As you can see here, does not exist. But if I'm going to reload the page, my expectation, yes, is to have hello here, right? So we are going to create the article component. And because we can access, for example, to the title and some other stuff, so let me add a couple of things here. Instead of hello, let me make it more dynamic. So in this case, we are accessing to the component, to the title field. We want to access to the language. Probably we are in the default language, so probably it will be empty. And then I want to display, to show all the components, right? So let me save. And let me refresh this. And here, as you can see, we have the article, we have the title of the article, we have the language. As you can see here, there is no language, but if I'm switching to Spanish, my assumption is to detect the ES, so the code, right? And here we have all the values that we can access, so we can build quickly our front end, right? Now, as you can see, no logic, is just building the Blade component, right? So it is very easy. And that's all for building a website with Laravel. It's very easy. So I think that I'm for work, I use the Next, and you know, it is very subjective, this kind of stuff. But I think that with Laravel is easier to control of this aspect, right? What do you think, Rick?
Yeah, I find it very straightforward because, to get going, because I've used various content management systems in the past, and just getting that JSON from Storyblok, and then in Laravel, like you're showing there, you're passing it into your Blade view, and there's very minimal amount of code, and you're already working with it.
Yeah, because at the end you have to deal parsing the JSON into your Blade, because at the end the logic is very minimal, just to consuming the APIs, as we demonstrate, we used the HTTP client, but this is very useful to understand how under the hood all the behaviors, right? Probably for a real project, we can use a totally different approach. So for example, using and reusing a package that you built in the past, right? So just for automating some stuff that I already show now, for example, creating the component, creating, for example, the blade component automatically, depending on the content come from the JSON and so on, you can use your package. So if you want, you can show the package. So a totally different approach. With my approach is starting from scratch, using the functions and classes provided by Laravel, like the HTTP client. So it means that you have to build your logic, but using your package probably is easier, right?
Yeah, but once it's set up, then all you're dealing with is the data. You're not worrying about anything else generally. Just getting it into the correct shape for displaying on the page, and the rich text editor and relationships, etc. Yeah, so it's really quick to get going.
Yeah. If you want, you can share your screen.
Okay,
I'm going to stop my screen.
Okay, so you should be able to see my screen.
Nice. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I've got a package that I developed after using Storyblok on a few projects called Laravel Storyblok, and I'll run over just some of the basics of how it works. I'm not going to go through all of the... Oh, can I zoom in? Yes, I can. My zoom's weird with a remote desktop. Sorry. Let me... I can't zoom in that much on my screen, but my code zoomed in, so I'm remote desktoping in. Sorry about that. So I'm not going to go over all the installation of the package, but it's all explained in the documentation. So I've got a demo project that I've set up here with lots of different blocks. So I'm just going to show how quickly that we can actually stub out all of the views that we're going to need in Blade to get this going. So you see, there's quite a few of them. There's 57 in total. And if I pop onto our home page at the moment, this is after the package is installed, you'll see we've got an error coming up saying that none of the views exist, which is a similar thing to what you're just covering, Roberto. So I'm going to jump into my demo here. Then on, actually, sorry, before I do that, I'll just show you the folder. So I've got my resources folder, my views, and I've got one called Storyblok and one called blocks. I've got a couple of demonstration ones here already set up, but we're going to automatically build up all of the rest of the views for you. So if I pop back in here and go artisan, then ls, so this is the command from the package, and we just want to go stub views. It's going to think for a moment, and now it's built all of these views for us. So this has used the various APIs that Storyblok provides to go and read the definition for all of these components, and then what fields are in them. So if I hop back, if I hop back in here, sorry, that's my little demo. It's changed because I've got Vite running to reload. So if we were to look at, say, hero A,
yes,
we've got text, image, buttons, and then a shape field in this case. Or hero B is going to be a similar thing. This one's got a few more. So if we now go back to, I'd say you can see all of these files have come in. So if I open up hero B, we can see that it's stubbed out this view for us. With the title, the text, the buttons, and then basically knows that buttons is, oops, sorry about that. Hero B. We know that buttons contains many blocks as a field type. It's going to automatically put in the loop and render out each one. So this render method, this will just very similar to what you showed previously. It will just determine which view to load based on a naming convention of the blade file matching the component name.
Yeah. Just to avoid the confusion. So before I showed a manual way, so how to create manually all the components. So it is useful in the first part to understand the logic for loading the blade. But in a real scenario, probably you have a lot of components. So with your package, you are showing that it is feasible to create automatically the components that we need based on the component listed into the Storyblok. So essentially your package performs some automation, right? Automatically generate the component, and it is fine because obviously in a real project, you will have, I don't know, tens, hundreds components, not just 4 or 3, right? So it is very useful, I think. Yeah, amazing.
Yes, so it stopped it out. So with one command, I've already got hopefully a fairly functional website in terms of loading data. It's not obviously going to be the prettiest yet, as there's no styling there. So if I jump into Storyblok now and then go to my content and then to my home page, we can see we've no longer got that error appearing. Just got some AI generated images here. As I scroll down, we can see that all the content that's in these components on the sides has already been printed out onto the screen. I did have to do a couple of things, which I'll show you in a second, for 2 of them, just to get them to work, because it won't understand everything out of the box. So if I pop into the Hero A blade component, let's just close this. You'll see that this is an image, so I've just obviously had to put it into an image tag, and the package will resolve the URL for you automatically and then spit out the image here. Now, one nice feature that you can enable with the package is if I want to, say, swap this picture for a different one, it's going to give you a live update, because it's actually going to re-render the DOM automatically based on any changes. Or the same if you were to type a new headline, it's going to give you fairly real-time changes, which will mimic what you get with a lot of the JS libraries. Yes. So it makes it a really nice editing experience. But then say you wanted to start using a few more features of the package. So one might be with this image that we've got here. At the moment, it could be too large. So with the asset API, you can start to do things. Let's just comment out this line and pull in this one, and I'll explain what it does. So here we're saying we've got the image, then that's going to be an object, and then I want to transform it, and so I want to resize it to 300 by 300 pixels. So if I save that, it's now going to update.
Amazing.
On my page, or if I go, say, 600 pixels wide, it's going to then crop it like so. Or if I hop back into the editor for a moment, and one of the really nice features of Storyblok is I can set a focal point. So say I want to focus on the crowd here on the right, and the save button. It's going to just, in a second, hopefully it'll pull down the picture. Come on, internet. There we go. So that's more on the right-hand side. And just to demonstrate that really works, it's going to the left. And save. And there we go. It's on the left-hand side of the picture. So really, really simple to start getting your content into the shape that you want.
Yeah, so, because from the Storyblok side, we are going to provide also the image service that allow you to do this kind of magic with the images, especially for the asset, cropping, resizing, changing format, changing the center, and so on. Right, so you can integrate easily all the Laravel option with this kind of image service also. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So all the package is doing is changing the URL to add in the various URL parameters that are needed. So if I just comment this out, so you can see exactly what's coming through. So Storyblok is going to be giving you some JSON. So this can be quite small, unfortunately. But what the package is doing is converting that JSON into a bunch of nested classes. If I zoom in, so here we've got the block, which is going to be the default one, but I've also got one called programs panel. If I just hop back here, we can see that programs panel is going to be, this is a relationship. So this is actually going to be requesting content from 2 other pages. I'd say within the top block, which is the hero, if I just open that up, so if it's small, we've also got a hero A image. So that's a field. And then that was the picture that I've just resized. So again, using naming conventions, as well as loading a blade view, you can also load a class name that's going to match. And I'll just show you a little bit about that now.
Yeah, because I'm very curious about that. Yeah, because you are saying that, yes, you are creating on the fly the blade components, but also some, let me say, model classes for modeling the structure of the component come from Storyblok. Is correct?
Exactly, yeah. So in the app folder, there'll be a Storyblok folder created when you first install the package, and that's going to have some default like block, page, and folders and assets in there, which they're all explained in the docs. But say, for example, the hero A image. No, let me not do the field first. I'll do the block first. So this is the going to be the class that's loaded for this particular panel here, or this component here. Whenever it's used, it's going to resolve to that class. And this is trying to make it feel very naturally like Laravel. So I just want to resolve a relation, and it's going to be called programs. And what that's doing is the actual field name for that relationship is programs. So now what the package is going to do is go, okay, we now need to do another API request to pull down the programs piece. What Storyblok will give you in the JSON is the UIDs of any related pages. So this is just actually going to go off and grab the content. So if I just uncomment, if I find the right file, if I could just comment that again. So we're actually going to have down here our programs, and these are going to be the different programs that are being loaded. Oops, if I click it, actually takes me through to the editor to edit that page. So,
yeah.
That's everything's linked. Let me just hop back to the home page. Yeah, so that makes it really easy to pull in your relationships. And again, in your code, all you're doing is, if I find the blade view for that, what's my component called again? Programs panel. So if so programs panel, all we're going to do here is print out, these are the 2 fields in the block, and then this is the relationship field. All we've got to do is loop over each relationship, and then this is going to be a whole nother instance of all the content that's available on the page that you've been linking to. And you can say to render it to the page, or you could pass in a view name as the first argument here, or additional data, very much how you would return a view from a controller. Or else
I have a question here, just for my curiosity. When the relation is resolved exactly? When you perform the first call, or when you access to the method, or?
It's going to be on the first call. It starts off by, it's going to take all of the JSON, and it's going to loop over each of the components or all the data that's been supplied, resolve what class is going to be there, and when it does that, it checks to see if there's any relations, and at that initial point, it then loads in the relations immediately.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm asking this because with Storyblok you have 2 ways for essentially more than 2 ways, but in general, let me simplify 2 ways. One is to ask to Storyblok API to resolve automatically the relation. So it means that your payload of the response is, let me say, huge, because at the end you have the first stories and then all the related stories. Okay, this is I think, the most common used approach, because with one HTTP API call, you can have all the data that you need for rendering the page. Another approach is to perform the first API call just with the main stories, and then you can detect all the identifier of the related stories, and then use this kind of identifier for performing an additional API request for resolving the relation. But in this case, you have to implement the logic to resolve the relation, right? So it depends. It depends because sometimes you need to save, let me say, bandwidth or in general bytes. So you probably can prefer the second one, but yeah, it's up to the developer to choose the best solution for them.
Yeah, exactly. There's lots of ways you can interact with it, and like you showed previously, this is caching the results as well. So once you've called it once, it's going to be cached using the regular Laravel caching. Okay, if I just show you another feature, if I go, let's close this one and go back to my hero. So remember that we resized this picture.
Yes.
Now, imagine you want to have responsive images on there, because you want to be able to have different crops for different size screens. So what I've got is, in my fields, I've got a hero image A. So this is a naming convention of the component name, then the field name, and then that's going to be automatically resolved when it finds a matching like data in the JSON. Or you could just call it image, and it would match any images, any fields called image. But sometimes you want to be more specific and say only an image within the hero A component type. Now what I've got here is I've set up some transformations, and you can name them whatever you want to, and then you can say which transformation that you want to be run, and then also supply a media query when it should be applied. And then from that, you can either make a picture element or do your source set tags for your image. So if I hop back into here, let's comment out this one and do this one. So here we're just calling image, then source set. Again, you can pass in things like your alt text or different views or different data and things in there. So if I save that now, it's now reloaded. I'll change the picture. That's why it's changed here. And it's going to be easier to show on this screen.
Yes.
It's caching, so that's why it's different. So I've got a cache on here, but in the live editor, it doesn't cache. So you can see your changes. So if I go on mobile view, now you can see at that 800 pixel mark, it's then going to change what it's using, just using the source set. So again, you can very easily just take make the URL that using the CDN that's provided, and it'll write out your source set element for you, or your picture element.
Yeah, amazing. I think this one is very useful. Yeah. Yeah, automate a lot of stuff here. Yeah, I love it. And about the caching, sorry for jumping into the caching topic. Yeah, my suggestion, I am a super fan of caching because performance is one of my goal. But so I am super fan of cache. But in general, my suggestion is to avoid and skip the cache, or in general set the time to live for caching to 0 when you are delivering the front end into the preview, so into the visual editor, right? Even if it is more slow, but at the end is for the content editor, so they can change the content, they can see the preview. So in this case, you can minimize the usage of the cache in this case. Different approach when you are going to deliver your front end for the production. In this case, you can use a caching mechanism, maybe more aggressive. With Storyblok, for example, we provide a webhook for example, when a story is saved or better is published. So in this case, you can erase and clean your cache on the server side. So what I'm trying to say is that you can cache in production when you are going to deliver the content. If you need a webhook mechanism for cleaning the cache or clean the cache by interval, for example, every minute, so you can set up your cron tab and so on, right? Yeah, just to let you know that my suggestion is to avoid to cache when you are going to use the preview, so the Storyblok. Because why I'm saying that? Because it's not related to the Laravel specifically, is related to all the framework. I see some issue from the next word when they are using the visual editor, because the visual editor is let me say a real-time preview. If you are going to cache, right, you can see the changes, right? So yeah, this is my suggestion.
Yeah, definitely. You want to make this screen as easy as possible for people to use. So yeah, the quicker that you can show the changes there, the better. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I think your package is amazing, because at the end you are, I think that you watched all this stuff and you decided what you need to automate to speed up the process for developing a website, because you detected all the manual tasks, creating the blade file, creating the models, and so on, and you resolved this kind of issues with your package, also with the image. Amazing, right? It's true that you are using an image service provided by Storyblok, but at the end you are going to automate a lot of stuff on the front end side. So I think it is very useful. Yeah,
I don't think anybody enjoys writing source sets and picture elements and things. You just want to make it as easy as possible. Because I never remember the syntax properly or anything, so I just want to kind of get it out there and say, on mobile, make it this big, on desktop, make it this big. And yeah, so as much as we can simplify it, the better. Other things that the package will do will be, because there's a couple of other artisan commands for stopping out blocks, the block classes, and that will, again, like the views, it will read the property. So you'll just have your autocomplete set up in your editor. And then it will try to detect if a field is a rich text editor, because the JSON that Storyblok provides is going to tell you the field type. So then I can go, okay, this is rich text. I can then automatically get that. So when you print it to the screen, it's going to be in HTML. Is it TipTap? I can't remember the name of the editor, but it uses a package to convert it back to HTML. The same for Markdown ones. We know it's Markdown, so let's use a Markdown package. And 9 times out of 10, for a client-facing website, you're going to want that as HTML. So let's have some sensible defaults in there and get it, moving as quickly as possible.
Mainly we are talking about creating HTML, but at the end with Laravel, for example, you can create also the command line. So I love building command line with Laravel. So yes, I think that your package could be useful also for that, because at the end you are going to generate the model, let me say, right? So you can reuse the model inside the artisan command. So if you are going to generate a command, instead of generating a front end with HTML and blade file, you can reuse the logic when you are going to build the command line, right? So
was that something you were planning on showing now? Tinker or not?
Oh yeah,
I can stop sharing my screen then if you want to cover some of that.
Because at the end, we are using let me share entire screen, my screen. Okay,
but I know we were working on a bit of a CLI for Storyblok, just for importing and exporting stories. It needs a bit more work yet, I think, but the basics are there.
No, but I would like to show, because at the end we are using Laravel, right? At the end, you can inherit all the feature come from Laravel. In this case, we can use Tinker, right? A PHP artisan Tinker. You can access to a shell. The most important part is that now you can launch some command using, this is very important, using the object and the classes come from Laravel, right? So for example, you can write, I don't know, hello, this is very easy, okay? But you can access, for example, to the config, right? So config is an helper provided by Laravel. So in this case, I can use storyblok.version is a key that, if you remember, I defined. So in this case, as you can see here, I can access, no, sorry.
Cool, yeah. Get your quotes there.
Oh my God. Let me, okay. Config here, storyblok.version, right? So now no typo, I think so. Okay, as you can see here, you can access to the values just because config is an helper provided by Laravel. So this example is very useful to understand under the hood how it works Tinker, because you can access to all the classes. And if you remember before, I created a model for retrieving the story. So the model is story. Then I can call, for example, the method that I already implemented. So now I'm going to reuse the logic under the hood. For example, I want to retrieve the home, right? So as you can see here, I'm going to use the logic that I already implemented in my Laravel project, and I can access quickly to the content, because Storyblok, story loads perform under the hood an API call. And obviously here you can use, for example, the helper are get. We can retrieve this kind of values, and then we can perform story.name. I love this. I love the array helper from Laravel, because in this case you can access, if you have a JSON, and with Storyblok you have structured JSON, nested JSON, and so on. In this case, you can access to easily to the attributes of this JSON. So in this case, we have in the JSON we have a story. Under the story, we have the name. So for accessing to the story, the main name, you can access in this way. If I don't, okay, yeah, no typo for that. So you can access directly and then you can, for example, if you make a mistake, you can provide a default and so on, right? So as you can see, is the reason why before I showed how to create a model, or in general a method to perform a HTTP call, and then reuse this kind of method for performing performing the logic, right? So as you can see here, now we are using yes, Tinker. In the similar way, you can perform, for example, let me copy and paste an example because this is very long. So in this case, I'm going to copy and paste another example. In this case, I'm using the HTTP client, more or less the similar way we used it before. As you can see here, we can perform a get. We are going to set the path for the API. We are going to use the token. Instead of coding the token in the string, we are going to reuse the config, as you can see here, and then we are going to perform version draft, and then we have the JSON, right? Let me hide this. Okay, oops. Okay, and then we can, if I'm checking if there is some error. No, I don't think so. Let me check. Okay, yes. And then we can retrieve the JSON, right? So as you can see here, via Tinker, you can access to the classes, to the method provided by the Laravel. in the similar way, if you want to build your command line, you can reuse for example, in this case, story load and so on, right? So I think it is very, very useful. Probably in the next episode, we can cover building a CLI with Storyblok and Laravel. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that'd be really good. Yeah, there's a lot you can do and a lot of good tooling that could be built around. Just making everything even easier. Yeah,
I love Laravel Prompt. I don't know if you already used it. Is a package provided by Laravel, by the core team. That it is useful, for example, when you want to build a CLI and you need to interact with the user, asking some parameters, or you want to perform some select in the terminal, not in the web interface, in the terminal. So it is nice if you want to provide an interactive CLI. You are going to build an interactive CLI, and then you want to create some prompt for asking more information to the user. For example, think about when you are going to, using the management API, for example, you can create in a programmatically way some component into Storyblok, and then you can ask to the end user, okay, which is the name of the component, which kind of field you want, and so on. So in this case, you can create a CLI. One of your package is about the CLI, right? Is correct?
Yeah. It's fairly basic in what it does. At the moment, though, it'll be importing and exporting stories. Then also importing and exporting components. So if you've got all your components in the list of blocks, you can then export all of those. You can play around with the JSON on your computer however you need to, or import them into another space.
Okay. Yeah, that's
yeah.
So I think we have good material for covering another episode, I think, especially for CLI, command line, automating stuff on that.
Yeah, definitely.
We can plan to do that. Because yes, I love talking about Laravel. I love talking about Storyblok. So probably because now we are running out of time, I think. Yes. So I enjoyed it a lot, this kind of webinar with you. I learned a lot. Thank you for sharing your package, and very useful because we can automate a lot of stuff. So yeah, I will play with your package, of course. And if I want to create a pull request, it is possible, correct?
Yes, please. I mean, the more the merrier. I mean, I just want to keep growing and adding all those features or fixing anything that's not working as well as it could. So yeah, it's definitely open for.
It is a kind of invitation for all the listeners, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, please.
I shared the repository of the project that I showed. In the README, there is all the links. So also to your package. So yes, take a look about that, or reach us into Twitter, for example. I think that it is nice, and I love to build stuff with Laravel and Storyblok. Right?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Next time we will cover about the CLI.
Great plan.
We have a plan, right?
Yes. Perfect.
Good. So, thank you for your time. I think we can say hello to all the listeners. Let me drop a message to everyone. Thank you for joining. Writing a message, thank you, in the chat. If you have some question, you can reach us. We are super happy about talking about Laravel and the story.
And there's the Discord as well, and
on the
activity there.
Yes. On the Discord channel of Storyblok, we have a specific channel for Laravel. So if you are curious about Laravel development, you can reach us and drop your question or share your experience with Laravel, because yes, we can spread the voice, right?
Yeah, brilliant.
Good. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.